Hello, welcome to Quackalope, and today we are diving into Vast, the Mysterious Manor, once again, for the final character in this How to Play series. We told you we'd do all 7.
We did it.
Jan doubted us.
A little bit.
I doubted us substantially.
There you go.
But we've made it here. This is an expansion character for Vast, the Mysterious Manor, the Haunted Hallways expansion. We just got done filming the Shadow Paladin. Today we are touching on the Armored Knight, and we're going to do our very best to follow somewhat of a format with this video. We're going to start by doing general overview, who the Armored Knight is, what his win and loss conditions are. Then we're going to go into setup. We're going to go through this sheet. We're going to break down all the pieces you need to play with this character. Then we're going to go over to this board. We're going to go through the steps. Everyone in Vast has a sequence of steps that you follow when you play their character roles. We'll go over that, and then we'll dive back in looking at specific terminology, specific actions, and conditions for those actions. And then we'll zoom back out, go back here to the board, and talk about how the Armored Knight kind of exists in the game state, how it plays, how you might want to approach it as a player. And then...
We're done?
And then we will know this game and actually be able to play it.
Yes! Man, I've been waiting for so long.
I mean, we've been watching our own videos to learn how to play this game, and this will be the final one, and we'll be ready to dive in. Because I will know that the Paladin wants to kill the spider. I'll know that the spider wants to gain terror to escape the manor. I'll know that the skeletons want to...
Wait. Oh, why are you doing this? I want to play already. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Just look at the other videos if you are concerned.
If you're worried about any of the other characters, you can go watch the videos on how to play them specifically. We have the entire set done, which we've now harped on because we're excited about that.
I want to play. Can we go?
Let's go ahead and dive into the Armored Knight. Now, the starting condition, the very first thing we have to set up is the Armored Knight is an expansion character, which means it replaces a core character. Your yellow little Paladin here is going to be gone. And your Armored Knight is going to come down here onto the board.
So are you representing the dragon in this particular instance? You just ate the Paladin?
Representing a Quackalope.
Okay, well that is more menacing.
There's an extensive amount of lore that none of you are aware of.
Oh, is this expansion content?
Possibly.
Maybe.
Possibly. We'll discuss. So let's go ahead and set up the Armored Knight. Jan, give me some behind the scenes. Give me some lore. And give me the win and loss conditions of this character.
So as the Armored Knight, you have conquered the cave, and now you have set out to once again visit the manor to take out another evil being. However, you've learned everything you can from your expedition inside the cave, and you have equipped yourself with some weapons and some armor starting out in order to do a little bit better. That's pretty much it.
A little older, a little bit more experienced. And in fact, when you were looking over the rules on this character, it does play familiar to the Crystal Caverns and the knight that existed in that. So if you do know old, Vast games and lore, don't worry about them, but they might help you when it comes to this role. Let's go ahead and do our setup. The easiest way to manage that is I will go through this board, same way you will be. Jan will demonstrate the things we're looking for, and then we'll be ready to swing into the actual how to play. Place the Armored Knight on the board in front of you. Place the Armored Knight figure on the entrance tile. Place the health cube on the 4 space of your health track. Place the grit cube on the 0 space of your grit track. Collect the 3 javelin tokens and the 3 armor tokens. Place 1 armor token on the matching space in the repair armor box on your board. Collect the 7 hero cubes. Place 2 hero cubes in the unassigned hero cubes box on your board. Shuffle the 10 side quest cards into a deck and then draw 3 side quest cards. Shuffle the 7 artifact cards into a deck. So, that is the general setup. There is one important trait we need to be aware of when playing this that kind of adjusts or changes the overall gameplay roles. That is formidable. Your figure is not removed when hit. Each time you are hit by a skeleton, you lose 1 health. Very similar to the Paladin, who this character replaces. So let's go ahead and pull over onto the board here. What are we doing? What is the sequence of events?
Yeah, so essentially you're going to do mainly 2 things. You're going to collect hero cubes, and then you're going to move an act.
Okay.
That is literally it for the Armored Knight. However, there are intricacies between some of those actions, so we'll go a little bit more in depth as to that in general, but your main objective is to try and take down the big bad. For example, here in this board, we're trying to take down the evil, mean Shadow Paladin, and in normal Vast, we'd be taking out the giant spider.
Well, and the terms are interchangeable. So anytime this specifically references killing the spider, if you're playing with a different bad, this will be the bad. Same with any cards or text for other characters that deal with the Paladin. They, in this game state, will be dealing with the Armored Knight.
Correct.
So just swap those around. Go by color more than terms specifically.
Yellow is evil.
So that is the shortest overview we've ever had.
I know, isn't it wonderful?
To collect your hero cubes, which basically means you take any of the hero cubes available on your board and you pull them up into your unspent resources, which is up here at the top. After that, move and act is where everything happens.
Yep.
Just like the Paladin, you're going to have a resource of hero cubes that you can spend to do a variety of actions. Let's go ahead and dive into those actions and see what each one of those does.
But before we get there, let's talk about your hero cubes and how you're going to use them across your board.
Okay.
So as the turn summary states, you're going to collect hero cubes, but where exactly do they belong? First of all, you'll notice that every power in your board is going to have a square space. You're going to be able to take these yellow cubes and you're going to be able to assign them to different areas. What each of those areas do, we'll get to it in a second, but what you need to know is that if you have a cube that is not in your unassigned hero cubes, you're going to take all of them and put them back in that first phase. However, anything that's here in the grid track area, you do not touch. You haven't unlocked it yet. The only point where you can use that is when this cube moves beyond the number and you now have that cube in your possession. After that, if you place it somewhere, again, you'll be recovering it and bringing it to your unassigned area.
So this is the grit tracker, which is very similar to the Paladin's grit tracker. You'll be collecting experience points in a way which are labeled as grit throughout the course of your game by attacking baddies as the primary way or rejecting some things. As you pass over these different sections, you're going to be getting buffs. If, for some reason, for instance, the skeletons, cause you to pass back below a section, you also lose that buff. So these hero cubes down here are indicators. They're not assigned or available yet. And if that white cube goes backwards, you will actually lose them.
Yep.
So now that we've touched on the board layout, now can we dive into what these different actions do?
Okay, that's fine.
All right.
So, moving and acting. So, very similar to the Paladin, very similar to the Knight in the original Vast, you're going to have some three major things that you do on your turn. You're going to be able to explore, which here is called perception. You're going to be able to move, and you're going to be able to attack using your strength. However, the way that you do this is by encountering, okay? So essentially, as the Paladin, you'll be assigning hero cubes as you move and as you act. So if you want to go ahead and move, you'll notice that on your board you have a default of 1, and that's going to apply to each one of those three main traits, which are perception, movement, and strength. So as you move along that manner, you're going to be able to assign cubes as you are acting to either change the outcome, to kind of have a little bit more control of what's happening, or adapting to a situation that you just walked into.
So let's say you wanted to move an extra space, you could do that in the process, or you move into a spot that has a poltergeist pop up, and you need to have enough attack or defense to deal with whatever that baddie is doing. You can then assign cubes at the very same time to buff your attack in order to take out that poltergeist. So that's what you mean. There's a little bit of manipulation on the top in terms of your flexibility and stats. And that's at the top part of your board. Now, what are these other abilities that we have on our board here?
So this is essentially the Knight learning from her past experiences and getting ready to wreck some stuff. First off, we're going to have the Javelin. So this works very differently to most of the other yellow characters because you have range. This will be reminiscent of the arrow in the original Vast, but it's a little bit stronger, and you can actually recover some of that ammo. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So, very different to what you're accustomed to with the Paladin, treasure tokens here are actually going to represent new Javelin tokens that you're going to be able to take on. Keep in mind though, and this is a general rule of Vast, tokens are limited.
You can either choose to get 5 grit by picking up the treasure, or get a javelin by picking up the treasure. So that's what these items represent for you during your gameplay.
Yeah. And so how you will use a javelin is essentially once you've found an initial treasure and you've been able to populate your javelin area, now you're going to be able to remove that token and essentially throw it across the manor to try and hit someone with it, of course. But it's important that whenever you do that, it's through visible tiles. So of course you're going to need clear line of sight in order for you to throw that accurately. And once you do, you're essentially going to be able to lay that tile there and pick it up in a future turn. That is, if another player hasn't beaten you to it and removed that tile for you.
Yeah, so if you pass back over it, you can re-pick up your javelins, or you can go back to treasure chests, you can reject them and get a javelin as well. So that's throw javelin. Let's move over onto repair armor.
So repair armor is a little bit new and it's really interesting. So essentially for the price of 2 hero cubes, you're going to be able to take a buff to your basic health. So if you were ever to get attacked, you're going to be able to reduce 1 of that damage to protect yourself and keep this precious health up as high as it can be.
Now you're still being hunted as you play this character. The skeletons still want to take you down, and you're weaker than your counterpart, the Paladin. So the repair armor allows you to modify how much health you have at the cost of your own actions and abilities throughout the game. So use it wisely, but you will certainly be using it.
Yeah.
Let's move down here to Lob Bomb.
So Lob Bomb is very similar to the original action. Essentially, you're going to be able to breach walls. However, as the name implies, now you're going to be able to throw that bomb as far as you can through visible tiles and blow up some walls over there. So essentially what that means is you might be able to throw a bomb through a tile that was visible, but you actually wanted to get beyond that. Throw another bomb to create another visible area, and then keep doing that as much as you can to create a longer passageway. So this could be combined really interestingly with the javelin, depending on how many hero cubes you have.
Jen now has this whole elaborate scheme in his mind of exactly how he wants to play this character.
And it is going to happen exactly as
My
I said.
initial suggestion would just be walk immediately into the manor, throw a bomb at the very first wall you come across, and then just move forward like an angry, grumpy old knight that you are.
Technically, you could do this and it might be very interesting. It's very aggressive first move.
I'll at least try it out. Let's move over to Bolster. Gain 2 strength for 1 attack. So that means if you're encountering and dealing with a creature, you can place a cube on that at any point and bolster a little bit.
Yep.
Get a little bit stronger for a little bit of time. Whereas the top actions will give you a buff to your defense and a buff to your movement that is permanent for all the encounters you come across during this turn. This is for 1 specific attack.
Yep. And the final action is super interesting. Because of your extensive experience in the cave, you can now intuit dangers around you. So whenever you place one of the cubes here, you're going to be able to look at all the adjacent dark tiles around your character. So that essentially means you have a good understanding of the playing field before you even walk there. So you can choose tactically where you want to go and not spend any unnecessary time in places that you don't really need to be in.
Well, and hopefully find a shrine when you need it and avoid poltergeists when you don't really have the stats to encounter them. Now, there are a few tiles that still really matter to the Armored Knight. Shrines are going to be the key one. Just like the Paladin, they are your bread and butter. They're exactly what you're looking for. They allow you to resolve some really nice effects. Treasure is going to spawn a treasure chest. Blood's going to spawn blood. Skeleton holes are going to be things that you want to pay attention to and avoid, because skeletons are able to crawl up through them and surprise you. And the poltergeist tiles are going to spawn poltergeists that you have to deal with and attack immediately. But those are all tiles that we've gone over in the general overview of this game, and everyone else around the game state should be familiar with them. The one that you need to pay attention to is going to be the shrine. Talk a little bit about how we deal with the shrine here with the Armored Knight.
So the shrine is actually going to give us a really important ability, and it's something that we haven't touched on yet because we're going to touch on it soon, but that's the ability to cycle our side quest cards. So whenever you go into a shrine, you'll be able to discard as many side quest cards as you have in your hand and draw up to that same number. So that's really powerful whenever you're dealing with something that you really don't have a good opportunity to resolve in that particular section of the game. So, with that in mind, the side quest cards are essentially going to unlock a new set of cards that you're going to be able to employ later in the game. I think I've talked enough about this that it merits going into a little bit more detail.
Sure.
So let's talk about those side quest cards. So side quest cards essentially are small little achievements that you'll be trying to get towards throughout your game session. So for example, here in Stalwart, it says end your turn on a shrine. So that one's really good to start off the game with. And it states, as soon as you end your turn on a shrine, you're going to be able to draw 3 artifacts cards, keep 1, and discard the rest. These artifact cards are, once again, very similar to the original Vast. They are new abilities that you will be able to activate on your turn instead of the default stats that you have on your board.
So for instance, Ghost's Bird Book, once per turn, gain 4 grit.
That is amazing.
So just a once per turn immediate grit buff.
That's incredible.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Those artifact cards are going to be incredibly powerful. And so these side quests, these little mini missions that you have for yourself, objectives for you to complete, are going to be key to kind of how you approach and play this game.
Mm-hmm.
The move and action phase of the game is all designed around facilitating that, especially in early game, so that you can get strong enough, so you can have enough movement, so you can have enough hero cubes to then go deal with the spider or the shadow paladin.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about how we get grit, since we drew a card that specifically deals with that, and how we actually buff up on this track. There's going to be a few different ways.
Mm-hmm.
First off, you get 2 grit for every tile that you reveal.
Yep.
So anytime you flip a dark tile to a light tile, that's going to gain you 2 grit. You're going to get 3 grit for every poltergeist you're able to destroy. They have a defense of 1, so you need 2 attack power in order to poof them off the map. You're going to get 2 grit for every skeleton you destroy. Skeletons crumble the moment you hit them unless they're buffed by defense that is around them. The skeleton player will let you know how much defense they have. But everyone that you knock out, you're going to get 2 grit. You're going to get 5 grit for destroying an egg. Eggs are going to be laid down by the spider. They're part of their long-term objective to winning the game. You will want to destroy them, not only because they're good for the spider, but also because they give you 5 grit.
Yep.
And then anytime you reject a treasure chest, or in this case, reject a javelin, you're going to get 5 grit as well. So that's how you buff your own stats and get stronger throughout the course of the game. So playing the game around these side quest cards is going to be key until you're strong enough to take down the big bad. At any point during your move and action phase, you can play a side quest card, meaning you've completed it, and then you always draw back up to 3. So you'll always have 3 in your hand. Like you said, if you encounter on a shrine, you're actually able to cycle that hand.
Yep.
Those go back into the deck, they reshuffle, and you draw them at a later point.
Remember, you're trying to adapt as to what you can actually complete in that moment of the game.
Yeah. So that's the Armored Knight.
Yeah, pretty
It's
much.
a fairly lightweight, more straightforward type of character. You're going to be moving, encountering, and attacking. There's not too much fluff beyond that. You're the hero of this story. But let's zoom back out onto this main board. We did just touch on it a little bit, but strategy-wise, what should people be paying attention to if they're playing as the Armored Knight in Vast?
Yeah, so you have to be very purposeful as to what side quest card do you want to complete. And as soon as you pick something, go for it no matter what. As soon as you start getting those artifacts onto your board and you start adding more possibilities into your role, it gets to the point where other players might not be able to catch up, and that's good for you because it gives you power across the space. However, keep in mind that a lot of characters are going to try and deter you from that. So for example, when you throw your javelins or when you put things down on the board, they're not going to let you get away with that for too long. So you have to move.
Now, other characters is an important element of this. You're hunting the red character, the big bad. You're being hunted by the green characters, in this case, the skeletons. So they're not really going to want to help you out. But the other players around the board, the Manor and the Warlock, are people that you can have a conversation with and have a little bit of a negotiation with to keep the other players from getting too far ahead.
Don't get too trustworthy, though, because they also want to win their game. So they're not going to be too keen on helping you out, but it's always important that you point out what's going on that you feel might end the game sooner, because that will definitely spur other roles into kind of like acting in your favor, even if it's a temporary alliance.
Yeah, like if the spider's assisting the skeletons to keep hampering you and preventing you from getting to the spider, well, maybe the Warlock or someone should manipulate a few tiles that help you get there a little bit quicker. The other note that I'd say is the same advice that we actually gave to the Paladin player. Don't underestimate how big of an impact a few early hits can have on the spider specifically. The Shadow Paladin's a whole beast unto his own. I'm not quite sure the best way to deal with him yet. But the spider...
We will find out.
But the spider specifically, I know, really gets hurt by having less and less spiderlings to escape and flee and move across the board.
Yeah.
So getting in there, buffing yourself to the point where you can do a lot of damage, but taking advantage of early hits is a smart way to play this game.
For sure.
So that is the Armored Knight. This is the last piece of content until the next set of expansions.
I feel I completed a side quest. It's done.
You might have completed a side quest.
Winner!
Whatever the case, if you've made it to this point in the video, I hope you've taken the time to check out some of our other vast videos, but also some of the other videos we have here on the channel. We put out videos every single week. Gameplay, unboxings, reviews, full documentary films, convention travel, journey, vlogs.
A lot of stuff.
There's a whole mix of stuff that we're putting out. And we do it because we genuinely love board games. We love this industry. We love getting things like this to the table, and we want to help make that possible for you and your gaming group. So if you've appreciated this video, if you've made it about 20 minutes into this video, please take the time to leave a comment, hit that like button, and subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, share this out with your gaming group, share this out with some friends. The more eyes and interaction we have on these videos lets publishers like Leader Games know that you appreciate and value the content we're making, and allows us to continue making it down the road. Whatever you do, though, remember to do the important thing. Get out and play some games. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.